So now what I'd like to do is ask the pro team and the con team to come up and give a short statement. I think it kind of matters in a semi-debate format who goes first, so I thought I would flip a coin to see which team gets to go first. This is a special coin that was given to me by Kate Berald. She actually made it. It's a recruitment tool. It's a coin that is used to help students decide where to go to graduate school. It's got the block M on one side and the seal of the University of Michigan on the other. So I think I will ask Steve on the pro team to call block M or seal. And I'll flip the coin, and then if you win, you get to decide whether you want to go first or second. What do you say?
Oh, I would say block M.
Block M it is. You want to go first?
Why not? Yeah.
Okay. So Steve Ragsdale wants to show some slides and give a summary of the pro team's arguments.
I never lose a coin toss, so that's one unfortunate thing. Can everyone hear me okay here? The back of the room. Okay, cool. Thank you. Well, thanks, Scott, for getting everyone together for this. And I'm happy to share some of the thoughts from the pro team. So probably a lot of us have been on admissions committees. And it's a really difficult decision, actually, when you see a bunch of really amazing-looking applicants. And we have all these different criteria that we want to use as a sort of balance to decide yes or no on a particular application. And we've all been faced with that sort of situation where, we have these multiple criteria. And they're all the different types of criteria. And they come in different colors. Sorry, I tend to walk away. Is this okay? Nope, it's not on. Because I will.
There's a button you have to hold down.
I've got to hold it while I'm talking?
No, it should be okay now.
Is this okay now? Yeah. So the different criteria, and they come in metaphorically in different colors and different shapes. And they're often criteria that are offsetting. And that's why I feel like, and we feel like, as much information that we have available to us is really important. So, for example, sometimes we'll see something that looks like, this particular criterion is really poor for that student, and then we look and balance that against some other criterion that looks really good. And so, for most of us, at least those of us on the pro team and those of us in graduate admissions committees that I've served on for the last 30 years, have enjoyed having a wide variety of information. And it's important not only for saying I want the best student quantitatively, but in terms of diversity, which is something that has been stressed in both teams' arguments, that in terms of diversity, it really helps to be able to look at all the various parameters. And when we're looking at diversity in a sort of a broad scape, then it helps to have as much information as possible, and especially quantitative information that allows us to make what we feel is, in the end, the best decision for the program and for the particular student. So that's an admission decision. But in addition, let's say the student's admitted, these data are also really important as the student decides on what laboratory they want to go to, and as their advisors and their mentors look at that information, and they really want to see, well, what's really best for the student is there. Like if we see something that looks like a stop signal, and we've admitted them anyway, that it might indicate that that we want to shore up some of their skills. And so having quantitative information, let's say a really low quantitative GRE, then we might want to supplement some of their training, or a low verbal or a low writing score. We might be able to supplement that information. And so I've certainly used that in my own laboratory to help students and to help decide exactly what's best for that student for the long term and to make them successful in their career. So that's just an overview of this process. And so in terms of the details of this particular discussion, I've just listed a few points. And I want to make this quick because I want we want the discussion to be broad and to not just have me speak, but just to introduce a few of the points that we feel are important that support the use of the GRE. And so the admission decision is indeed a holistic and multi-criterion evaluation. And at least in no program I've ever been involved in have we used any simple numerical cutoff to say, oh, well, this student, let's just throw out everything below a certain score. No one has done that, and we don't do that. I don't know of any PIBS program that does that, even though there are indications that there are programs that say if you have a score of 310 or below, then you're out. But we don't use that, and the pro team, as far as I know, we don't support that use of the GRE. We use it as one of the criteria that are shown here on this balance scale. And there are quite a few of those criteria. And I feel like the removal of any one of those criteria actually weakens the possibility of having a diverse and a strong graduate student. At least our graduate students, we want to have as diverse and as strong a group as we can. So having this broad range of criteria, that helps in recruiting diverse graduate student body. It also helps us in identifying some particular individual strengths and weaknesses of each student who's being evaluated and then who ends up in our program. Another really important criterion is that the GRE is the most, and at this point is our only standardized measure of evaluation across institutions. The GRE also is indeed a useful predictor of subsequent performance in graduate school. And there'll be some discussion about this, I'm sure, because there's data on both sides. But I'm saying based on the strongest peer-reviewed studies. And one particular aspect of this that's been really important in graduate committees that I've served on is that they often save students with low GPAs, and we know of a number of cases where student comes in, does really poorly at the beginning of their their undergraduate program, their GPA still doesn't rise to the point of being a 3.9, and so without a strong GRE, then we might discard those students who are sitting in the 3.2 overall GPA range. So I think that's really valuable, and also someone with low GREs can be offset by other criteria. Again, it's a holistic evaluation that takes place. And so one way to look at this is just thinking about, we are all scientists here. And unless the GRE scores contain zero useful information, like everybody says, there's no point in having GREs. There's nothing of any use in that data. Then there's really no rationale to deny faculty the information that they contain. And we feel that if you omit the GRE scores, then you're actually compromising the identification of promising students. So there are a lot of things that can be said about each of these points, and those are not things that I'm going to do now, but I want us to just keep these things in mind, as well as whatever the con team has to say as we proceed in this discussion.